The influence of the Epic of Gilgamesh on the modern world is profound, being considered, alongside the Bible, one of the most impactful texts of the ancient Near East. Recently, discussions about the possible discovery of his tomb have brought new perspectives to legends involving giants and fallen angels, leading some to question whether these beings are the result of interactions between humans and entities of other origins. Although some interpretations seek genetic connections to explain such myths, it is important to clarify that, from the point of view of scientific archaeology, there has been no confirmation of DNA recovery from Gilgamesh's tomb. But before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. In 2003, research in Uruk located structures that corresponded to literary descriptions of the king's tomb, but the investigations were interrupted by conflicts in the region. To date, the idea of giants with extraterrestrial DNA remains in the realm of speculation and alternative literature, without biological evidence to support a change in the official human chronology. The Epic of Gilgamesh remains one of the most important landmarks of world literature, preserved on clay tablets with cuneiform writing dating back almost 5,000 years. The narrative details the journey of Gilgamesh, the legendary king of Uruk, whose characteristics and grand deeds continue to arouse curiosity and diverse historical interpretations. In ancient records, Gilgamesh is portrayed as a figure of extraordinary proportions, with texts suggesting a height of approximately 5.2 meters. He is described as a hybrid being, the son of a deity and a mortal, which would justify his exceptional strength and abilities. More than a tale of power, the work focuses on the character's evolution, showing how an initially despotic ruler transforms, through his experiences and trials, into a hero of admirable courage. At the beginning of his story, Gilgamesh is described as a tyrannical monarch who burdened the population of Uruk with exhausting constructions and abusive laws, provoking the outcry of his subjects. To balance this situation, the gods created Enkidu, a wild man destined to confront the king. However, instead of becoming rivals, they developed a deep friendship and went on to accomplish great feats together. The first of these adventures was the incursion into the cedar forest to confront the fearsome guardian Humbaba. Driven by the desire to immortalize his name, Gilgamesh ignored the dangers and, relying on the divine support of Shamash, managed to defeat the demigod. Although this victory raised the duo's prestige before the world, the audacity of the act provoked celestial wrath, leading the gods to decide that the price of this triumph would be the death of one of the two companions. Tragically, it is Enkidu who is chosen, succumbing to a serious illness and ultimately dying. His death leaves Gilgamesh devastated and forces him to confront the harsh reality of mortality. The loss of Enkidu propels Gilgamesh on a monumental journey in search of immortality, a quest that takes him to the ends of the earth in search of Utnapishtim, the sole survivor of the Great Flood and bearer of eternal life. Along the way, Gilgamesh faces formidable challenges, traversing vast mountains, encountering the terrifying Scorpion Man and his consort, and navigating the perilous waters of death. This description of his physical attributes and strength, combined with his mythical lineage, has fueled ongoing debate about his existence. Was he a real historical figure who walked the earth, or merely a mythical construct, a product of the fertile imagination of the ancient Sumerians? In the region that today corresponds to southern modern-day Iraq, the sands conceal the secrets of Uruk, an ancient marvel and a symbol of human ingenuity. This legendary city once pulsed with life in the heart of Mesopotamia, a region that forever changed the course of history. It was there, between the rivers, that the first cities emerged, writing was born, and empires arose. The stories of Uruk have been lost over the centuries, and its grandeur has become legend. However, in the 19th century, explorers and archaeologists, driven by tireless curiosity, sought to unearth their past and reconstruct the fragments of their legacy. In 1849, the British archaeologist William Loftus made a revolutionary discovery by identifying a large mound near the village of Warka as the possible location of Uruk. Although his initial excavations were limited, the inscriptions found confirmed his suspicions and paved the way for further explorations. It was the German Oriental Society, however, that truly revealed the grandeur of Uruk to the world. After obtaining a license from the Ottoman Empire in 1912, a team led by Julius Jordan began systematic excavations that would reveal an impressive collection of artifacts and architectural structures, portraying a civilization that had reached extraordinary levels of sophistication and cultural advancement. From the iconic White Temple and the imposing ziggurat of Anu to the intricate Uruk Vas and the Inanna complex, each discovery offered a fascinating glimpse into the world of ancient Mesopotamia. Perhaps the most intriguing discovery was that of thousands of clay tablets found among the ruins, inscribed with cuneiform script, and containing fragments of the very epic that had captured the world's imagination, the Epic of Gilgamesh. As excavations continued, even amidst wars and political instability, the city of Uruk slowly revealed its secrets, shedding light on the birth of writing, urban planning, and monumental architecture. It was there, within the walls of this ancient metropolis, that the foundations of human civilization were laid, and where the legend of Gilgamesh took root, with his deeds eternally etched in history. Although Uruk was the birthplace of Gilgamesh, it was in the ruins of Nineveh, the last great capital of the Assyrian Empire, that the most complete version of the Epic of Gilgamesh was rediscovered. This is a fragment of a literary work written more than 1,000 years before Homer's poems. This extraordinary journey is linked to the excavations of Austen Henry Layard, a British archaeologist whose pioneering work in the 19th century transformed our understanding of the ancient Near East. In 1849, Layard embarked on an expedition that took him to Nineveh, located in what is now northern Iraq. Beneath the desert sands lay the remains of the Library of Ashurbanipal, an Assyrian king of the 7th century BCE, known for his passion for collecting literary works from across the ancient world. It was there that Layard made a discovery that would mark generations of scholars. Among the thousands of clay tablets found in Ashurbanipal's library, Layard identified a fragment that immediately caught his attention. It was a large tablet, covered in detailed cuneiform writing, containing what appeared to be a narrative. Although simple in appearance, made of clay, and inscribed in a long-extinct language, this artifact, approximately 3,500 years old, is of incalculable value. Unbeknownst to him at the time, Layard had found only a fragment of the Epic of Gilgamesh, a literary masterpiece lost to time. In the following years, his team discovered more than 15,000 similar fragments, each containing a part of the narrative. These fragments were carefully assembled and sent to the British Museum in London, beginning a long, decades-long process to decipher and translate the cuneiform writing, revealing the secrets of the epic to the modern world. Among these fragments, one figure stood out as the key to deciphering this enigma: George Smith, a self-taught scholar whose passion and perseverance would forever change our understanding of the ancient world. Born in 1840 into a working-class London family, his trajectory in the field of antiquities was improbable. He left school at age 14 and went to work as a banknote engraver, a profession far removed from archaeology. But fate had other plans. As news of the excavations in Iraq spread, Smith became fascinated by accounts of ancient and undecipherable artifacts, older than any known record. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, he began frequenting the British Museum during his breaks, teaching himself the ancient languages and scripts that had intrigued scholars for centuries. In 1866, the museum staff, intrigued by the constant presence of this dedicated young man, offered him a position. If he truly wished to become a translator, he would begin with the thousands of fragments discovered by Layard. For years, Smith worked tirelessly, and little by little, the cuneiform characters began to reveal their secrets. In 1872 came his great discovery, a fragment describing a flood strikingly similar to the biblical story of Noah's Ark. This revelation had a great impact on academic and theological circles in Europe, with many claiming that this ancient account confirmed the veracity of the biblical text. Even so, his journey did not end there. In 1875, he published his most important work, a complete translation of the fragments he had deciphered, the Epic of Gilgamesh, considered the oldest story ever recorded in writing. Tragically, his life was cut short in 1876, when he died at the age of 36 from an illness. However, his legacy remains, as it was his groundbreaking work that laid the foundation for the exploration of the ancient world, revealing a literary masterpiece that would continue to captivate audiences across generations and cultures. The Tomb of Gilgamesh. Fast forward to 2003, Jörg Fassbinder, a geophysicist from the Bavarian Department of Historical Monuments, announced that his team had discovered a possible tomb of Gilgamesh near the ancient city of Uruk. According to him, this tomb matched the descriptions found in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Fassbinder's team detected a large structure, approximately 150 meters long and 120 meters wide, within the ancient bed of the Euphrates River, just outside the city walls. Gilgamesh's burial site described in the epic. The narrative recounts that, after his death, the people of Uruk mourned their king and diverted the mighty Euphrates River. This act revealed a natural cavity where Gilgamesh was buried with treasures worthy of his status. After the burial, the river was supposedly allowed to return to its original course, once again concealing the tomb. The revelation generated a wave of reactions, with enthusiasm clashing with skepticism. Elizabeth Stone, an archaeologist at Stony Brook University, stood out as a scathing critic, calling Fassbinder's claim absurd and irresponsible. She argued that the Epic of Gilgamesh mixes myth and reality, leading to inconsistencies regarding the location and nature of the tomb in different versions of the story. Despite the criticism, Fassbinder remained firm. He stated that his team had identified structures and artifacts that matched the descriptions in the epic, including gardens, fields, houses, and a sophisticated canal system reminiscent of a kind of Venice in the middle of the desert. Now it's time to choose today's entrant. Scientists have just sequenced the DNA of Gilgamesh, the giant, and they were shocked. In 2018, a rare event occurred along the Euphrates River. One of the banks dried up completely, exposing a stretch of the riverbed that had not been seen for millennia. This unprecedented change offered a unique opportunity for archaeologists, including a team led by Dr. Zahab Al-Ali from the University of Baghdad and by Dr. David Hawkins from the University of Oxford. The investigation of the area revealed the outline of a huge ancient structure. Deeper excavations unearthed a stunning discovery: a colossal stone sarcophagus measuring approximately 6 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 1.5 meters high. The sarcophagus was adorned with detailed cuneiform inscriptions and reliefs referencing scenes from the Epic of Gilgamesh. The most intriguing thing was the name Bil, Gams, a Sumerian term associated with Gilgamesh, engraved in stone. But the real shock came with the DNA analysis. The results indicated traces of both Neanderthal lineage and ancient Iraqi peoples. Could this really be the final resting place of the legendary hero? Andrew George's theory. the hidden location of the Anunnaki. While Fassbinder's theory about Gilgamesh's burial in Uruk seemed plausible and based on research, a fascinating alternative has cast doubt on this certainty. Andrew George, renowned professor of Babylonian studies at the University of London and respected expert on the epic, has presented a compelling hypothesis. He suggests that the legendary king may not be in his famous city, but rather in the Syrian city of Raqqa. This idea, based on careful textual analysis and a deep understanding of Mesopotamian history, has sparked interest among scholars and generated debate in the field. The basis of George's theory lies in the analysis of a clay tablet fragment predating the known versions of the epic. This fragment, kept in a private collection in London, contains a singular line: "He crossed the sea, the vast sea, the waters of death." This seemingly simple phrase, like a whisper from the distant past, led George to a new line of investigation. His research indicated that the ancient term for this mythical sea could refer to the Balik River, a tributary of the Euphrates in northern Syria. Along the winding banks of the Balik lies Raqqa, a name that echoes throughout history. Through the study of Assyrian sources, George linked Raqqa to the ancient city of Ra, a place of great religious importance. He also suggests that Ra'ah may be linked to the biblical city of Rehoboth, one of the cities founded by Nimrod. This legendary figure, great-grandson of Noah, is often associated with the legend of Gilgamesh, with his own deeds possibly intertwined with the epic's narrative. George proposes that it may be in Raqqa, the ancient Ra, that Nimrod, or a figure who inspired the Gilgamesh narrative, built his tomb. He theorizes that this location, due to its religious importance, could be the same one venerated by the Assyrians as the hidden location of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, those powerful and enigmatic deities of the Mesopotamian underworld, exert a great influence on the belief systems of the region. This connection becomes even more intriguing when considering the hypothesis of ancient astronaut theorists, who suggest that the Anunnaki were not merely mythological gods, but rather extraterrestrial beings who interacted with humanity in the distant past. If this is true, the possible resting place of Gilgamesh takes on a new dimension, suggesting a legacy influenced by otherworldly forces. Naturally, George's theory also faces both interest and skepticism. Some scholars question his interpretation of the textual evidence, while others point to the enormous logistical difficulties of conducting research in a region marked by conflict. Despite these challenges, George maintains the validity of his hypothesis. The connection between Gilgamesh and the Bible, shared stories and traditions. In the vast fabric of human civilization, few literary works have resonated as deeply across cultures and generations as the Epic of Gilgamesh and the biblical accounts. These ancient texts, separated by thousands of years and vast distances, present striking similarities that have intrigued scholars and the general public, suggesting the possibility of shared traditions and cultural connections that transcend time and space. One of the most striking parallels can be found in the flood narratives present in both the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Book of Genesis. In the Epic, the story of the Great Flood is told through Utnapishtim, a righteous man chosen by the gods to build a vessel and preserve life in the face of a global catastrophe. This account bears a strong resemblance to the biblical story of Noah's Ark, in which Noah is commanded by God to build an ark and gather pairs of all living creatures to survive the flood. Both stories describe the release of birds to check the receding waters, the final resting of the vessel on a mountain, and the offering of sacrifices to appease the divine forces. These similarities have fueled debates among scholars, with some suggesting that the biblical account may have been influenced by, or even derived from, the older Mesopotamian version. Another interesting parallel appears in the story of the Garden of Eden and the transformation of Enkidu, who goes from a wild man to a civilized one in the Epic of Gilgamesh. In the biblical narrative, Adam and Eve are created and later expelled from the Garden of Eden after succumbing to the temptation of the forbidden fruit, gaining awareness of mortality and knowledge. In the epic, Enkidu undergoes a similar transformation when he is seduced by the priestess Shamhat and introduced to civilized life, including the consumption of bread and wine, the wearing of clothes, and the observance of social laws. This process also distances him from nature and leads him to an awareness of his own mortality, echoing themes present in the biblical narrative. These similarities have generated discussions, with some suggesting that the biblical account may be a reinterpretation or even a critique of Mesopotamian history, offering a different perspective on human nature, divine will, and the pursuit of knowledge. Although the connections between the Epic of Gilgamesh and biblical texts are evident, their interpretation and meaning remain debated. Some see these shared stories as evidence of a common cultural heritage, or the transmission of ideas between ancient civilizations, while others consider them independent expressions of universal human experiences. Regardless of interpretation, its enduring relevance demonstrates the power of storytelling and the ability of ancient accounts to transcend cultural and temporal boundaries, connecting human experiences across generations. The DNA revelation. Scientists have just sequenced the DNA of Gilgamesh, the giant, and were shocked. Genetic research has brought a breakthrough that challenges our understanding of human evolution. This discovery may also help explain why the Epic of Gilgamesh describes the hero as part god, part human. The starting point for this revelation lies in the groundbreaking work of Svante Pääbo, an award-winning geneticist whose pioneering research revealed that humans and Neanderthals were distinct species that diverged approximately 500,000 years ago. However, Pääbo's later discoveries revealed a surprising truth: evidence that interbreeding had occurred between these two distinct lineages. Genetic research led by Svante studies have revealed that between 1% and 4% of the DNA of populations of European and Asian origin comes from Neanderthals, who coexisted with humans until their extinction 40,000 years ago. Complementing this data, Dr. John Hawks demonstrated that the acceleration of genetic selection in the last 5,000 years was immensely greater than in any other period, indicating that the exchange of genes with other extinct hominids was a crucial driver of our evolution. These scientific discoveries open up space for alternative interpretations of mythological figures like Gilgamesh. It is questioned whether the hybrid nature attributed to the king in the epic, described as part human and part divine, could be an ancestral memory of encounters with non-human species. Although conventional archaeology treats the Anunnaki and Gilgamesh's divine lineage as mythological constructs to explain the unknown, speculative theories suggest that such accounts could represent interactions with advanced beings or extraterrestrials who brought knowledge to Sumeria. Although situated outside the scientific consensus, these ideas took on new dimensions at the beginning of the 21st century. During the United States invasion of Iraq in 2003, the geopolitical chaos and the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime put millennia-old archaeological sites at risk. This period of conflict not only impacted regional security, but also generated debates about the fate of historical treasures and what might truly be hidden beneath the soil of ancient Mesopotamia, keeping alive the tension between historical facts and the mysteries of the past. As the American military rapidly established a presence throughout the region, a veil of secrecy and controversy fell over the excavation sites and historical treasures that had long been the subject of intense academic interest. The echoes of war reverberated across the land, disrupting ongoing archaeological efforts and threatening to erase the very essence of Iraq's rich cultural heritage. Among the sites caught in the maelstrom of conflict was precisely the location where Jörg Fassbinder, the German geophysicist, had made his startling claim to have discovered the tomb of Gilgamesh near the ancient city of Uruk. With the war spreading through the region, Fassbinder and his team were forced to abruptly abandon their work, leaving behind a series of unanswered questions and unfinished excavations. In the ensuing chaos, reports began to emerge of military personnel conducting unauthorized excavation activities at the site, fueling speculation about the nature of what might have been found and the possible removal of artifacts, including the skeletal remains supposedly belonging to Gilgamesh himself. The implications of such actions were profound, casting doubt on the integrity of the site and raising concerns about the fate of any archaeological treasures that might have been discovered. If the tomb had indeed been violated and its contents removed, it would leave a huge gap in our understanding of the ancient world and the legacy of Gilgamesh, a figure whose importance transcended the boundaries between myth and history. The controversy surrounding the Gilgamesh site was further aggravated by events at the National Museum of Iraq in Baghdad. Despite being warned about the cultural importance of the museum and the priceless artifacts housed within, the United States military failed to provide adequate protection, leading to widespread looting and the loss of irreplaceable antiquities. While the international community reacted with outrage, disturbing testimonies emerged alleging that, even before civilian looters stormed the museum, specialized units of the United States Armed Forces had already entered the building and meticulously removed entire vaults of artifacts, raising questions about the true motivations behind these actions and the fate of the stolen relics. In response to the looting at the National Museum of Iraq, the U.S. government mobilized a task force composed of specialists from the CIA, FBI, and Customs, under the command of Colonel Michael Bogdanos, a military officer with a strong academic background in classical studies. The objective was to investigate the incident and recover the stolen items. While exploring the underground chambers, the team noticed something suspicious. The selection of stolen items was surgical. Valuable pieces were taken, while replicas and empty boxes, left as bait, remained untouched, demonstrating that the criminals possessed detailed knowledge of the collection and its location. These incidents, coupled with allegations about the removal of items from archaeological sites linked to Gilgamesh, have raised questions about the real motivations behind the invasion and the sacrifice of cultural heritage for hidden interests. Recently, findings related to the supposed tomb of Gilgamesh have intensified the debate between myth and reality, suggesting that the ancient Sumerians may have based their legends on concrete historical figures. This phenomenon of transforming real experiences into mythical narratives to preserve social values is a common characteristic of various cultures throughout history. In the end, the Epic of Gilgamesh transcends the historical record by exploring dilemmas, universal aspects of the human condition. Through the protagonist's quest for immortality and his suffering over the loss of Enkidu, the text confronts themes such as the inevitability of death, the importance of friendship, and the complex connection between humanity and the sacred. Current discoveries force us to rethink the nature of truth and how we interpret the past, transforming what was once considered mere fiction into a field of study about the roots of civilization itself.